Do you love movies? So do I. What's up, y'all? It's KB, and I love movies, inviting you to listen to The Conversation, a film podcast where passion meets perspective and opinion. From the old school to the new, I invite a guest on to discuss the movies that thrill us, challenge us, break our hearts, or even blow our minds. There's always new episodes dropping wherever you get your podcasts. So join the conversation. We don't just watch movies. We love talking about them too. The Conversation with KB Loves Movies, a part of Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Hey, this is Jason Kleberg from the Force 5 podcast, a show that forces a guest to come up with a movie-themed top 5 list topic, and then we reveal our picks on air. Top 5 heist films, top 5 tearjerkers, top 5 movie dogs. Every show you'll be asking yourself, what would be on my list? Guests include directors, screenwriters, actors, podcasters, musicians, authors, and even a professional wrestler. Subscribe to the Force 5 podcast, and you won't just be a listener, you'll be a list nerd. The Force 5 podcast, available wherever you're listening now.
Is that a man in there or something?
Welcome to Wake Up Heavy, the world's greatest horror movie podcast. On this episode, my weird dad and I will be talking about
Its origin, alien. Location, Antarctica. Age, unknown. Intent, survival. Destination, man. John Carpenter's The Thing, rated R.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
Hello, and welcome to Wake Up Heavy, Recollections of Horror. This is Mark Begley, your host. Coming along for the ride today is my daughter, Cleo.
Hello.
All right, well, we just finished watching John Carpenter's The Thing for your second time and probably my 102nd time. And we're going to talk about it a little bit because it is one of my favorite movies of all time. And as I've mentioned on the show in the past, it is probably the movie that I have watched the most times in my life. Most of those viewings came when I was around your age, probably just a little bit older, because it most likely didn't come out on video until 1983, and I would have been 14, which you aren't quite there yet. Having said that, what do you think about The Thing?
I really like it. It's good. It's very strange. I like it a lot. And I'm glad I got to watch it a second time.
Well, we'll watch it more than that, I guarantee it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Anytime I'm watching it, you're welcome to come along.
Ooh.
We watched John Carpenter's The Thing, and then we watched the prequel, The Thing, yesterday, just to have something to compare it to. We didn't watch the original The Thing from Another World, because I couldn't track it down. I've seen it before. It is pretty silly and very B-movie-esque, like they talked about on the Red Letter Media video that I had you watch yesterday. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of fun, too. And there are some similarities between them. But the main focus here is on John Carpenter's The Thing. And its amazing special effects, which is one of the things that the movie is most well known for. So what did you think about those whole crazy effects?
They were great. When we first watched it, I said, oh god, this puppet is horrible, but I did mean it looked, disgusting. It was a great puppet, but it just looked so gross and realistic that I was like, I hate it. But the special effects were really, really good, and pretty dang realistic.
So we have, 4 major effect scenes. We've got the dogs in the kennel, we have the defibrillator scene.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
We have the Palmer scene. And am I missing one or am I just miscounting? So 3 and a couple of smaller ones. I really noticed, I mean, from the get-go, from when I watched it as a kid, that defibrillator scene with the head that slides off and turns into the little spider or crab monster.
Yeah.
That is such a good head sculpt and good animatronic.
Yeah.
It looks really realistic. They did a great job of casting that, sculpting it, and applying, they've got to apply the hair, and that thing moves, so there's all kinds of appliances inside of it, and it doesn't look like a mannequin with a wig thrown on it.
Yeah.
And like a lot of horror movies, when someone's head gets chopped off, that's kind of all it is.
Yeah.
That, to me, is the standout. But speaking of those scenes, the major effects scenes, which one is your favorite?
Ooh, I do really like when the dog, its face opens up, but I have to say the head, crawling away from the table is probably my favorite. It's so weird looking. I love it.
The dog scene rivals that scene, but I think because it's so much darker and a little bit harder to see what's going on, which I think is on purpose. We don't want to get everything right up front. I mean, it's kind of a massive first effects scene to have. We don't get a subtle change or anything. We see the whole thing go down, and there's a lot of special effects in that dog scene.
Yeah.
It's just a bit harder to see. I think the lighting is brighter in the defibrillator scene, so you really get a good shot of every single special effect that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
The Palmer scene, there are a couple of goofy spots in that sort of keep it from topping the other ones, like the noticeable dummy that's flopping around, and just some of the cuts are kind of strange, and he even has a different outfit on during that scene, like it was 2 different scenes cut together.
I didn't even notice that.
Well, that's the funny thing, because like I said, I've seen this movie so many times, but watching them with you even, and then watching that Red Letter Media video, I caught some things that I have never noticed before, and I love it that can still happen in a movie that I've watched dozens and dozens of times. Probably not 100 times. I would say close to 50. I mean, your aunt and I rented this movie a lot when we were younger. One thing I think that you pointed out is when they're trying to control Blair and Kurt Russell as MacReady throws those punches and Fuchs, as you noted, falls back, and I had never noticed him do that before, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so funny. And then when we watched it today, I kind of paid attention a little better, and I think he gets hit in the face when MacReady's trying to punch Blair. So
yeah,
in the dog kennel scene when they're shooting the dogs and that big huge spray of green gunk shoots out of the back of the dog, I'd never really noticed that before.
Yeah.
This is kind of a loaded question, but what do you notice about the cast of this one?
Well, they're all dudes, obviously, but it's nice. It's interesting to watch them all slowly just hate and get so paranoid. I mean, that happens in a lot of horror movies, especially ones that are who's the killer or whatever. But this one, it's different because it could be anyone or multiple people who are not themselves. So it's really interesting for everyone to just turn on people, and in some scenes where they are like, what happened? Why did you burn him? And he's like, he was not himself. It's interesting to see that. I like it.
The all-male cast, which they rectify in the prequel. We have some female characters finally.
Yeah.
And our main character is female. She's not so much MacReady replacement. She's more like a Ripley from Alien.
Yeah.
Which is cool. The only female voice we hear in the movie at all is the chess wizard.
Cheating bitch.
Yeah.
And a couple of the dogs were probably female, but who knows?
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, it's all guys, and it's 12 guys. There are a lot of characters.
Yeah, there were.
sometimes in movies like that where it's, what's the term? Where they're all in one space and nobody can get out. It can kind of be too much, too many characters. Like some people don't really have anything to do. They're just there to be killed or whatever.
Yeah.
But in this, they're all individuals and you can tell who each one is and they all have jobs and their characters come through really strongly. Even from the beginning of the movie, you kind of get, okay, Palmer's the stoner kind of loser guy.
Yeah. Noel's the kind of laid-back guy. I mean, he has roller skates in the camp, like...
He's the chill dude, and Gary's the boss, so he's got to be in charge.
Yeah.
Blair is obviously the smart and very paranoid one, and MacReady ends up being our hero. If you had to pick a favorite character out of that group of 10, who would it be?
Honestly, Windows, or... Honestly, probably just Windows, because he's pretty funny in some of the scenes.
Reach anybody? We're 1,000 miles from nowhere, man, and it's gonna get a hell of a lot worse before it gets any better.
I think I said that when we were watching it today. Definite nominee for my favorite character.
Yeah.
I mean, we're rooting for MacReady. We know he's the hero of the movie, but Windows is a lot of fun, and that actor, he was in a bunch of movies that I watched when I was a kid, and he's been on like all the different Law and Orders, so you've probably seen him at some point and just wouldn't even realize it because he's obviously quite a bit older and his hair is gray now. And yeah, he used to pop up in different movies that I would rent and stuff and see on TV when I was a kid, and I always enjoyed him as an actor. So, but he's just the put upon character. We don't really see him get beat up in the Blair scene when Blair's going wacko, but obviously something has happened. He's got a big ol'
like gash on his head.
Yeah, exactly. And the whole thing with Gary turning up the speakers while he's wearing the headphone and just his line deliveries and stuff are so much fun.
Yeah.
Child, what if we're wrong about him?
There's no one that's really unlikable, which is nice too. You can understand them all being paranoid and getting angry at each other, but no one's really made out to be a jerk, which drives me crazy in movies. We don't have to have...
Yeah, we don't have to have main characters.
It gives you more empathy for when things happen to the characters, and like, oh no, not him. Oh no, not Bennings. Oh, now it's Norris. Yeah. And I appreciate that. I don't need a character to hate. I don't want any of these guys turning into the Thing and...
Yeah.
Getting ripped to shreds and stuff. I mentioned that there are some favorite lines. Your auntie, Julie, and I watched this movie a ton, and there were always these lines, 3 or 4 lines that we would always say, definitely while we were watching the movie, but just in general, just out of the blue. It's not really famous lines or important lines. It's more like... lines that came out weird when characters were...
they just, like, stuck out.
Yeah, they stick out. And I think she's even said that, like, when William first watched it, he caught a lot of those same lines. I think I said at the beginning of the movie, here's favorite line number 1, and it's when Doc says, is that a man in there, or something?
Is that a man in there, or something?
And then Windows has some favorite lines. The other one that we always laughed at was when Blair says, do you hear we?
I said, watch Clark. And watch him close. Do you hear me?
Because he says we. And I'm like, why didn't they do another take? Or am I mishearing it? I mean, I've always heard it that way. I should have thrown the closed captioning on to see how they transcribe it. I start to get into that whole fan theory deal when I hear that line now, and I think, well, maybe they meant to say we because this is when Blair has changed, and he's saying we because he's the creature and blah blah blah.
That's cool.
But I don't know. But he also mispronounces Fuchs's name.
Have you come across Fuchs?
It ain't Fuchs. It ain't Fuchs.
So maybe it was just Wilford Brimley's inability to read his lines correctly.
I'm Wilford Brimley, and I'd like to talk to you for a few minutes about diabetes.
Well, one of my favorites is when he's sitting in the tool shed with the noose hanging by his head, and he says, I'm all better now. Like, no, you're not.
I'm not gonna harm anybody, and there's nothing wrong with me. And if there was, I'm all better now. I'd like to come back inside. Now, you got my promise.
And it's nice to have those little comedy touches throughout. And they're not really played for laughs, but like a comedy movie editing to the film with that. And when they're doing the blood tests, when McCready will test someone and they're okay, and then the very next shot, like that person is standing next to him. And then at the end, it's just Gary on the couch alone. And it's just like those little quick shots like that kind of make you chuckle. And I'm sure they did when people first saw it in the theater, although apparently not that many people saw it in the theaters.
Yeah.
Having mentioned that, we watched that Red Letter Media video, and they talk about how this movie was universally hated when it came out. Does that kind of surprise you that it was looked down upon so badly back then?
Honestly, not really, because I feel like a lot of really good movies were kind of hated at first, and it took them a while to be liked by people, but it is kind of interesting, because it's a really good movie, but I think the really gory, like, special effects may have set people off. I don't know. It's good.
Prior to that, I mean, I can't even think of a movie that has anything even approaching not only the amount of gore, but how well it's done. This is too realistic. It's hard to pull back and say, I can tell this is fake. I cannot think of a movie prior to that that had such extravagant, I think, and over the top. There's so much green goo and other kinds of slime. It's not just tons of red blood gushing everywhere, because it's an alien, so they do something different with it. I sort of understand it, but then I think, well, it's not just blood and gore. I mean, it's
gross.
What are some movies that you would put this amongst? What does this remind you of?
I don't know if I mentioned this, but I think I did. I said the screaming when the thing screams, especially as like Bennings. It reminds me of the end scene of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and honestly just like taking bodies and basically making new versions of that body reminded me of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and it reminded me a little bit of Alien, just obviously because of the alien aspect, and like everyone getting picked off one by one, kind of like that, which I guess is a normal horror movie thing, but you get it.
And I believe I even mentioned that when we watched it the first time, you know, it's kind of a cross between those two movies. You have the alien angle, and I mean, that's an angle in Invasion of the Body Snatchers too, because it comes from outer space. That really deals with the paranoia of who is really themselves, like we get here, plus, like you said, taking over an individual and becoming a perfect copy of them. Yeah, you're exactly right. It's like Alien in that they all get isolated and picked off one by the creature, with that added paranoia of, I don't know who the alien is because it's not this xenomorph that looks completely different from us. It's Bennings, or it's Doc, or it's whoever.
That thing wanted to be on!
We did watch the prequel. I probably watched it, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago for the first time. I remember when it came out. I was interested in it from the beginning because that mystery of the Norwegian camp has played in my mind since I saw the movie. Like, what happened here? Mm-hmm. But did we need to know that?
I personally think it's pretty interesting to see how it all happened, but I think maybe a sequel would have been better, just because, like, you didn't have to put all these pieces together perfectly, and you could have just done, like, something way different with people going to the camp and finding maybe another, like, the burned body of the thing, just like what happened in the original movie as a sequel. I don't know. I kind of like the prequel, but it's just kind of iffy for me. It could have been really good prequel that, like, oh yes, this makes sense, this is like good closure, or you could have done a sequel that just, like, not makes it worse in like a bad way, but makes it worse in like, oh, this thing is bad. I mean, obviously, but
I really wish they had stuck with the practical effects.
Yeah.
And we just caught a glimpse of that again with the Red Letter Media video, and they looked pretty great to me.
They did. I don't know why they abandoned that. I even said that when we were watching that. I was like, they should have stuck with that. It was so cool looking.
And then you know that they would have gone in and fixed some things and added some things anyway with CGI.
Yeah. It's interesting because, like, probably in 2011, The Thing was really loved. I'm assuming it probably gained more popularity as the years went on. So it's interesting that they were like, no, we'll be laughed at if we do special effects like the original movie, even though a bunch of people love the special effects in the original movie. So it's kind of interesting. I get it, kind of. I mean, I'm not like a filmmaker, but you don't want to be laughed at for a film.
You're sort of screwed either way. If you keep them, then new audiences, younger audiences, maybe that don't have that appreciation of the first one, won't like it. And then if you just go full CGI, obviously the people that love the original are just going to say, nope, not for me.
Yeah.
I love the original, but I'm open to this, and I enjoy it to a certain extent. Mm-hmm. It is kind of neat to see how they interpret what happened in the Norwegian camp.
It is, yeah.
I always pictured in my head that body that they bring back that's sort of melted. I just assumed that was one person kind of splitting apart. I have no idea what the special effects designer or the filmmakers, John Carpenter, whoever, I don't know what they had in mind when they came up with that.
Yeah.
They do something different in the prequel and say, no, that was two guys joining together.
Yeah, which I think is pretty cool.
I remember being surprised by that when I first saw it. And I was like, oh, that's an interesting take. I don't need to know how the axe gets in the wall like they show. And some other things that's kind of like, okay, whatever. I haven't watched this anywhere near as many times as John Carpenter's. I want to say the original, and when I do say that, I'm talking about the John Carpenter one, not the 1950s one. They don't ever blow up the spaceship in this. And so that sort of getting my wheels going and thinking, okay, did they intend this to be a prequel, or was it supposed to be more of a reboot, or what? I also mentioned to you that our lead, Kate, I believe her name is, played by Mary
Elizabeth Winstead.
Thank you. That in a couple of scenes, she's wearing a wig. I'm pretty sure. So that means reshoots. And I wasn't really paying attention to the context of the scene to figure out, okay, are they sort of shoehorning in the prequel stuff with this or what? But they never show that. Well, they don't blow up the ship because she ends up getting on it at the end and it's still under all the ice.
Yeah.
You gotta show that scene. That's a big part of the Norwegian story that they unearthed it.
In the beginning of the 1982 film, we literally see the spaceship. It's a part of the film for most of the beginning. You see the spaceship in the intro and you're like, okay, that was weird. Or for at least for me, that was weird. I was like, why is there a spaceship? But when they showed the Norwegians digging it up and when they found the spaceship and then when they were walking on it, you're like, oh, that's what this monster's from, and that's what it was in the beginning. But in the prequel, they're just like, nope, they didn't dig it up at all.
You know, it's funny, though, that you mentioned that spaceship at the beginning, because that wasn't originally in John Carpenter's The Thing. The studio wanted them to add that so that people understood that this was about an alien, which is completely unnecessary because
they show the spaceship.
Yeah, it ruins that surprise, that build-up as to what is happening. They've gone to the camp and they've gotten all the paperwork and the videos. I don't think that they watch that stuff until after the dogs have transformed, and so they don't know what's going on. They wouldn't know what's going on anyway. We're the only ones that see the spaceship entering the Earth's atmosphere 100,000 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
Totally unnecessary, I think. Of course, we've got CGI in the prequel, which means that they can make things faster and as crazy as they want.
Yeah.
In John Carpenter's, we have to rely on things that have been built. So how do you think that attributed to the differences in the creatures between the two movies?
In the original, the 1982 version, the monster, I think they say this in the movie, one of them does, it hides. It doesn't always want to come out unless it's like cornered or something.
This thing doesn't want to show itself. It wants to hide inside an imitation.
But in the prequel, it shows itself a lot. And I think it's because they wanted to show off the CGI a little bit. But it also, honestly, probably why they did that. It's just out in a lot of scenes. Like in the scene where, I think the girl's name is Juliet, when she basically traps Kate in there with her, and she just opens up super quickly right behind her. Yes, there's a little chase scene through the hallways. She kills one of the people really quickly, so you're kind of like, oh, they're just picking off people really quickly. Which is kind of different, because in the original film, it builds up to people dying. Kind of.
You don't see, and you don't know for a long time who it could be. The only time that it attacks like that is during the blood test scene with Palmer. We see Binnings. Windows catches Binnings mid-change, so that's a reveal. That wasn't the creature's intent, obviously. It was to take him over. He just got caught. He was a little bit lazy because he was waking up. He had been burned and asleep for a while, so you never really know where the creature that pops out of the dogs ends up.
Yeah.
It's out there roaming around, and we don't see it again, really, until it's absorbed somebody. And who did it absorb? Did it get to Norris first, or Palmer? And
you don't know who it got to first. Like, it could have been Norris, it could have been literally anyone, like you said, but...
And that leads to their paranoia, and it helps us with ours not knowing who they are. And when you just see it run out in the hallway and attack another guy, like you said, then we know, well, these two people are it right now. There may be more, but we at least know these two are. That happens a number of times where they get grabbed right in front of a bunch of other people.
Yeah.
So you lose a lot of that tension. Then it's just kind of more a chase and show off the special effects, like you said. And you lose the paranoia. And there is still a little bit of that, like in the plane, or I'm sorry, the helicopter.
Oh, yeah, when he's sick. Yeah. That was actually pretty good.
You think it's him. They kind of do the Windows thing again, where he's got a weird stare, and you're led down that path of thinking it's the Norwegian character, and it's the American, and he splits open. Yeah, there are other people around, but the helicopter ends up crashing miles away, and so...
I think I noticed that, sorry. But I said something, I think you asked about, like, how did the dog happen or whatever, and I was like, maybe it was that thing from the helicopter crash, because we never got closure on what happened to that thing. Like, it's just either dead in the helicopter crash, or there's just a whole nother one just out in Antarctica, so, which kind of bothered me.
We don't know if it got the other two Americans that end up coming back to camp. We don't know if it's just hiding out. And yeah, the dog issue is kind of interesting, because I only ever remember seeing one dog in the prequel, and it gets dragged off, and we don't ever see it again until the end, when they try to really cram in that opening from the 82 film, and how that goes down. Because I kept saying, wait a minute, they're all dead, there's no Norwegians left. Who's flying the helicopter at the beginning of the 82 film? So they did wrap that up, but it still kind of seems a little bit messy, and...
Yeah.
And I agree. I think a sequel could have been done just fine. The rescue team has to go there eventually to find out what happened at the camp. I think there's still talks of that happening. And, everybody wants Kurt Russell's son, Wyatt, to play him or something like that. That would have to be like an immediate sequel.
Yeah.
You know who I'm talking about, right? Who Kurt Russell's son is?
I think he was in a movie we watched recently.
He's in the Falcon and Winter Soldier. He's the new Captain America that everybody hates.
Yes.
Speaking of Kurt Russell, I always kind of like to point this out to you about where you're going to be familiar with people. And of course, he's Santa Claus in those Netflix movies.
And he's Ego in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Our little connection between the two films, he's in Sky High, and Mary Elizabeth Winstead is in Sky High.
Yep.
Wrapping all that together.
In the prequel, Kate, she gets in the snowcat and drives away. Where does she go? Should she go back to the camp? Because when we get that little mid-credit scene, the only person in that camp is the dog thing and the Norwegian. So where'd she go? I still don't understand where she went.
I don't know. And they probably did that to leave it open for kind of a side quill, her story afterward. And maybe she witnesses all of this destruction at the American outpost. Who knows? I mean, unfortunately, that's what they do these days. They leave a door open and probably had plans to explore that further with her. And I don't know that this movie did all that well, so they probably scrapped that pretty quick. But they could come back to it at some point, even if it wasn't her playing it. Yeah, so there's all kinds of possibilities with these stories because we don't know if there's still a creature out there.
Yeah, there's in both movies we get an ending where they're both just out in the snow, Childs and McCready, and then Kate. They're all three of them are just out in the snow in their movies, so you don't know what happens to either of them.
Maybe she goes and rescues them.
That'd be cool.
Let's start writing the sequel.
Yeah.
Kate and Childs and McCready can take on the thing in its spaceship.
Heck yeah. That'd be kind of cool.
If you had to rank the 1982 movie against some of the other classics that I've shown you, like Alien or Invasion of the Body Snatchers or The Shining or whatever else we've watched, where would this be? Pretty high on the list? Pretty low on the list?
Pretty high on the list. My friend yesterday, when we were watching the 2011 thing, he asked me, what's your favorite horror movie? And I was like, I don't know, to be honest with you. I really like Poltergeist and I really like Alien, but The Thing is really, really good. So I think The Thing would go pretty high on my list, with maybe Alien and Poltergeist coming after it.
Those are all good choices, by the way. You have really good taste in horror movies. I wonder where that comes from. And how about the prequel?
Prequel would probably be a bit lower. I did enjoy it for the most part. There were some consistency problems, but I liked it. So it might be lower than the 82 film, but it's somewhere like in the middle, maybe.
I mean, I'll watch it again, too. I don't have a great hatred toward it or anything.
Yeah.
It exists. The other movie still exists. We can watch that one. I will watch the 82 movie way more than the 2011, but I got nothing against watching them. And every once in a while when I watch the 82 film, I think, I'll throw on the other one. I need some more Thing in my life, so why not? And you got kind of inspired to watch E.T. right after we watched the prequel yesterday. So that's sort of the movie that everybody thinks was the movie that kept The Thing from being really successful, and I don't know how much I buy that.
Yeah, because they're very different movies.
Right.
One's about a really sweet little stubby alien who's like, I got sick on Earth. Meanwhile, The Thing's about something that, like, kills, 10 guys in, like, a span of 3 days? They're very different movies. I don't know how E.T. really caused the success of The Thing to drop, but...
No, I agree. I think it was more critical response to it. People just kind of weren't ready for it. And it's for different audiences, like you say, and like they said on the Red Letter Media. I definitely saw E.T. because I was old enough to see it, and I loved it. I wasn't old enough to see The Thing, and a lot of people that were old enough to see The Thing probably weren't interested in a sweet little E.T.
Yeah.
But you can have both and enjoy both, and I do.
I'll kill you!
That wraps up our discussion on The Thing. I just wanted to get your thoughts on it, like I mentioned on another episode of the show that you weren't on, that this is the best way for me to do a movie like this because Me just sitting here and talking about it isn't any fun, and I'm not going to add anything new to a movie that's probably been discussed to death, but it's always good to get a much younger person's view of it.
Second opinion, yeah.
Thanks so much for joining me once again, Cleo. Do you have any movie recommendations?
That doesn't sound right.
Let me try that again. Do you have any other movie recommendations beside The Thing? Something that you've watched recently that you really like that you think people should check out?
I watched Cruella recently, and it was really good.
You went back to the theater even to see it, and then we watched it together as a family, and yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
And thanks everybody for listening. I've got a few news and notes that I'll get into in just a minute after a quick break.
Tell you what, why don't you just trust in the Lord?
Here's what some people are saying about the Projection Booth podcast.
The Projection Booth is single-handedly the greatest film podcast you could ever listen to or could possibly want.
Top notch. 5 stars. This has quickly become one of my favorite film-related podcasts. Always interesting.
A completely unpretentious yet fully comprehensive look at films from all genres.
The Projection Booth podcast, with new episodes available every week at projectionboothpodcast.com.
Greetings. Are you a fan of monsters, galactic misfits, and mutant weirdos? Are you a collector or an enthusiast? Do you like toy photography, dioramas, Masters of the Universe, or Star Wars? If so, I encourage you to follow Skelevator on YouTube, Instagram, and or Facebook. Just type Skelevator, SKELE space VADER, Skelevator, into your YouTube, IG, or Facebook search engines, and you'll find me. Join the geeky freakout today. Become a friend of Skelevator.
Childs! What if we're wrong about him?
Why then we're wrong?
The only real news I have for this episode is that I have some new swag over on tpublic.com. The link is on my webpage, it's on the SoundCloud page, and it is in the link tree, which you can find on Instagram or Twitter. If you want to send me a screenshot of your order and include your address, if you're comfortable doing so, I will send you some new pins that I ordered, as well as the stickers that I've had made in the past. So if you get something, a t-shirt or a coffee mug or all kinds of crazy stuff that they have on TeePublic with the Wake Up Heavy player logo, I'll send you some other swag for free. Other than that, I have the upcoming Projection Booth episode on the Sabata trilogy and some of its knockoff films, and I will let everybody know when that is out. I will save movie recs and other news and notes for a later episode. Thank you so much for listening, and have a great day. Don't forget,
anything can happen when you wake up heavy.
You gotta be fucking kidding.